Have you ever stepped into your elderly parents' or grandparents' bedroom and felt a quiet sense of comfort, because everything looked normal? The bed is neatly made. The curtains are drawn just the way they like it. Their favorite old lamp sits beside their favorite old book. It all seems peaceful, familiar, safe. But here's the thing. Sometimes, what feels safe can be silently dangerous. And what looks harmless can lead to something no one saw coming. Let me tell you something that might hit close to home. There was this woman, let's call her Mama Rose. Sweet lady, lived alone, independent, proud. Her bedroom was her sanctuary. She'd lived in that house for over 40 years. Same dresser. Same rug by the bed. Same stack of books on the nightstand. One night, she got up to use the bathroom, just like she'd done 1,000 times before. But her foot caught the corner of that same little rug she'd had for years. She fell, hard. Broke her hip. And just like that, her life changed. Not because of illness. Not because of old age. But because of a small item, something we all might overlook, hidden in plain sight. And you know what's scary? Mama Rose's story isn't rare. It happens every day. A light too dim. A cord too loose. A blanket too old. All these little things, they don't seem like a big deal, until they are. You might be thinking, well, my dad's bedroom is fine. He hasn't had any accidents. Or, my grandma knows her way around better than anyone. I get it. We don't want to believe that the very space meant to comfort our loved ones could actually be setting them up for harm. But here's the truth. The bedroom can be one of the most dangerous places in the home for an elderly person. Not because of what's missing, but because of what's still there. That's why today, we're going to uncover the 8 silent but dangerous things you should seriously consider removing from the bedroom of any elderly loved one, or even your own, if you're aging in place. And trust me, once you hear them, you'll realize just how easy it is to fix these hidden hazards, before they turn into emergencies. These are things most people don't even think twice about. Some of them are there for comfort. Some out of habit. Some out of love. But love also means knowing when to change something, even if it's been there for years. So if you've ever cared for an elderly parent, grandparent, neighbor, or if you're planning ahead for yourself, this video is going to be one of the most important ones you'll ever watch. Because sometimes, prevention doesn't start in the hospital. It starts in the bedroom. Comment "safety first" if you believe that every elderly person deserves to sleep in a room that truly protects them. And don't forget to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments, because together, we're creating safer homes, stronger families, and more peaceful golden years. Now, let's dive into those 8 dangerous things, starting with one that's so common, I guarantee it's in more than half the bedrooms I've ever seen. Let's begin with the first item on our list. It might seem innocent. It might even look stylish or comforting. But it's quietly one of the biggest threats in any elderly person's bedroom. Number 1, throw rugs and loose carpets. I remember visiting my aunt one weekend. She had this lovely little decorative rug right beside her bed. It had tassels on the ends, a floral pattern in soft pastels, and she loved how it matched her curtains. It was her favorite. She said it gave the room character. I said it gave it charm. We both thought it was harmless. Until the day she tripped on it. She was just getting out of bed. Still a little groggy. She stepped off the edge, her foot caught the rug, and just like that, she went down hard. A broken hip. 3 weeks in the hospital. Months in rehab. And she never walked the same again. All because of a rug. Now, you might be thinking, but that could happen to anyone. And you're right. But for an elderly person, that kind of fall isn't just painful, it can be life-altering. Here's the thing, as we age, our balance becomes more fragile. Our reflexes slow down. The muscles we once used to catch ourselves, they're not as quick anymore. Even a slight stumble can cause a serious injury. Loose rugs, curled edges, bunched up carpet corners, these are fall traps hiding in plain sight. And yet, so many people leave them there. Because they look pretty. Because they've always been there. Because grandma loves that rug. But here's what most people don't realize. That rug might add warmth to the room, but what's the cost of one slip? We can't always stop aging. But we can remove the things that make aging more dangerous. If there's a throw rug in your loved one's bedroom, or your own, and it doesn't have a secure, non-slip backing. If it moves even an inch when you step on it. If it bunches up at the corners or slides on hardwood floors. Take it out. Or replace it with a non-slip mat that grips the floor firmly. Better yet, if there's carpeting, make sure it's tightly secured wall to wall. Nothing should shift underfoot, nothing. Because in that one moment of getting up to use the restroom, or reaching for something on the floor, it's not the softness of the rug that matters. It's whether or not it's safe. Removing it doesn't mean taking away comfort. It means adding peace of mind. And peace of mind? That's something every elderly person, and every caregiver, deserves to have. But, falls aren't just caused by what's underfoot. Sometimes, the real danger is hanging right above us. Quietly, waiting, and completely overlooked. Let's talk about that next. Now let's move to the second hidden danger, one that's easy to miss because it doesn't sit on the floor. It hangs above our heads. Number 2, overhead shelves and heavy wall decor. There's a woman who used to live just down the street from my family. Sweet elderly lady, always had a warm smile and a gentle voice. Her bedroom walls were filled with memories, family photos in wooden frames, little keepsakes on narrow shelves, a painting her late husband gave her on their 40th anniversary. It was her space. Her story. But one night, she had trouble sleeping. Tossed and turned for hours. And as she shifted in bed, the frame above her head, an old photo of her wedding day, shook loose and fell. It struck her right on the arm. Now, luckily, it wasn't a major injury. Just a few bruises and a lot of shock. But it could have been worse. It could have hit her face. Or her chest. Or her eye. And here's the part that sticks with me. That frame had been there for decades. Never moved. Never a problem. Until one day, it was. That's the tricky thing about overhead decor. It seems stable, until it isn't. We all want to make our loved ones' bedrooms feel warm, cozy, and personal. And naturally, we decorate with things that carry meaning, family portraits, favorite artwork, certificates, heirlooms. It makes the space feel like home. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We often decorate for style, not safety. And for an elderly person, something as simple as a wooden shelf or a framed print can become a hazard, especially when it's hanging right above where they sleep. Think about it. The bed is the one place where someone is most vulnerable. They're not alert. They're not upright. They're resting, often with eyes closed, unaware of what's around them. If something falls, there's no time to react. No chance to dodge. No way to protect themselves. And it doesn't take much, a loose nail, an aging bracket, a small tremor, even just the vibrations from movement nearby. What seems secure can suddenly come crashing down. So what can we do? Start by removing any heavy or sharp-edged items from the walls near the bed. That includes framed art with glass fronts, wall-mounted shelves holding trinkets, or anything that's not firmly and professionally secured. If decor is important, and it often is, swap it out for soft, lightweight alternatives. Think fabric wall hangings, foam art boards, or even framed prints made with acrylic instead of glass. And always ask, if this fell in the middle of the night, would it hurt someone lying here? If the answer is yes, or even maybe, it doesn't belong there. Because no memory is worth a broken bone. No decoration is worth a night in the hospital. Create a space that tells their story, but tells it safely. A space that doesn't just reflect who they are, but also protects who they are. Now, next up is something a lot of people actually recommend for comfort, especially in colder seasons. But what if I told you, it might be doing more harm than good? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about comfort and risk. Number 3, electric blankets with frayed cords. My grandfather, bless him, was the kind of man who didn't complain much. Even as he got older, he stayed independent, sharp, and set in his ways. And one thing he loved, especially during winter, was his electric blanket. He called it his little slice of heaven. Every night, he'd switch it on low, snuggle under it, and drift off. Said it made his joints ache a little less. Helped him sleep a little better. We never thought twice about it. But one evening, I went in to check on him, just something felt off. And I noticed the cord. It was worn, frayed near the plug, with exposed wires showing through. It had probably been like that for months. He had no idea. And he'd been plugging it in every night, next to his bed, next to the curtains, next to his nightstand with old magazines stacked high. It scared me. Because that kind of damage, that's not just wear and tear. That's a fire waiting to happen. Now thankfully, we caught it in time. But not everyone's that lucky. Here's what many people don't realize, especially when it comes to our elderly loved ones: electric blankets can be comforting, but they can also be dangerous. As we age, our skin becomes thinner, more delicate, more sensitive to heat. What feels warm to you or me might feel burning hot to someone in their 70s, 80s, or 90s, and they may not even notice until it's too late. And those cords? They get bent, twisted, tucked under mattresses, rolled over by beds. Over time, the insulation wears down. The wires inside get exposed. And every time that blanket gets plugged in, it's a risk, for overheating, for sparks, for fire. Still, so many people just shrug it off. It's just a little tear. He's had it for years, it's never been a problem. She only uses it on low. But fire doesn't ask if it's on high or low. And frayed cords don't heal themselves. If your loved one uses an electric blanket, and many do, it's not about getting rid of it entirely. It's about being smart. First, inspect the blanket thoroughly. Run your fingers along the entire cord. Look for exposed wires, loose connections, melted spots near the plug. If you spot anything questionable, even the slightest damage, replace it. Not just the cord. The entire blanket. Consider safer alternatives, like heated mattress pads with automatic shut-off features. They're often more evenly heated, less likely to bunch up, and designed with newer safety standards. And always make sure whatever device is being used is turned off before sleep. Set a timer. Use auto shut-off. Plug it into a surge protector, not directly into the wall. Because the only thing your loved one should feel in bed is comfort. Not danger wrapped in warmth. Safety doesn't mean removing every pleasure from their life. It means protecting the ones that matter most. Now, speaking of wires, let's move on to something that often gets overlooked, but is everywhere in the modern bedroom. Let's talk about tangled cords around the bed. Let's talk about something almost every bedroom has these days. Number 4, cluttered extension cords and power strips. There was this elderly woman I met during a home safety assessment. Lovely spirit, lived alone, fiercely independent. Her bedroom was cozy, warm light, a little desk, a bedside fan, a reading lamp, and her phone charger all plugged in right next to the bed. But when I looked closer, it wasn't just 1 or 2 cords. She had 4 different devices plugged into a single extension cord. The wires crisscrossed behind the nightstand, coiled loosely along the floor, some even tucked halfway under the bed. One wrong step. One sleepy moment in the dark. And it would have been disaster. And you know what? She wasn't careless. She was just trying to make life easier. She wanted her lamp close so she wouldn't have to walk in the dark. She wanted her fan within arm's reach to help her breathe easier at night. She needed her phone nearby in case of an emergency. It all made sense. Until you saw the mess behind the furniture. Tangled cords, overloaded outlets, loose plugs, it looked like a spider web waiting to catch someone. And when your balance isn't what it used to be, or your vision's a little blurred, those cords don't just blend in. They become invisible traps. Now here's the danger most people miss. It's not just about tripping. It's also about electrical overload. Extension cords and power strips weren't meant to carry that many devices for long periods, especially not heat-producing ones like heaters, fans, or electric blankets. Too many plugs in one outlet can cause the strip to overheat. That heat can spark. That spark can lead to a fire. And all of it can happen silently, in the middle of the night, while your loved one is asleep just inches away. But we don't think about that. Because we assume more outlets mean more convenience. We think, it's fine, it's been like that for years. She only plugs in a few things. He's never had a problem with it before. But safety doesn't wait for a problem to start. It's about seeing the risk before it becomes real. So what can we do? First, take a good look behind the bed, around the nightstand, under the desk, anywhere cords are running. If you see tangled wires, exposed plugs, or overloaded strips, it's time to declutter. Use cord organizers to bundle and secure the wiring. Label what each cord is for, this makes unplugging or replacing them easier. Invest in a high-quality surge protector with a built-in circuit breaker, especially for essential devices like medical equipment or communication tools. And most importantly, keep cords away from walking paths. Never run them across the floor where someone might step or trip. If possible, secure them along the walls or behind furniture where they're out of reach and out of the way. And always check the condition of the plugs and strips. If anything looks melted, discolored, or damaged, replace it. Don't wait for a smell, a spark, or worse. Because one fall, one electrical fault, can change everything. The goal here isn't to take away your loved one's independence or convenience. It's to protect it. Now, here's one that sounds helpful, something people often add to create a relaxing atmosphere. But it can silently cause long-term problems, especially for someone with sensitive lungs or trouble sleeping. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about something that smells sweet, but can silently stir up serious trouble. Number 5. Strong air fresheners or scented candles. I remember my uncle, gentle soul, a bit of a night owl, but always searching for ways to sleep better. He loved lavender. Had these little lavender-scented candles lined up on his dresser. Said they helped him relax, helped him feel like the day was winding down. And at first, it seemed to help. Until the coughing started. It was subtle at first. Just a little clearing of the throat. Then a dry cough. Then he started waking up in the middle of the night, short of breath, lightheaded. At first, he thought it was just a cold. Maybe a bit of dust. But the truth? It was the very thing he lit to feel calm. That candle, that scent, it was too strong for his aging lungs. His body couldn't handle the chemical components the way it once did. And sadly, that's something so many people don't realize. As we get older, our respiratory systems become more fragile. Our ability to filter out irritants weakens. The lining of our lungs becomes thinner. And things that once smelled pleasant, like a cinnamon plug-in or a floral spray, can suddenly become overwhelming. Even dangerous. Some scents can cause dizziness. Some trigger headaches. Others can lead to prolonged respiratory irritation, and if your loved one already has asthma, COPD, or heart issues, it's even riskier. But we don't think about it like that, do we? Because we're taught that candles are relaxing. That a spray of lavender or vanilla makes the room feel clean. We associate scent with peace, with calm, with self-care. And so we plug in air fresheners. We burn candles. We spritz the bedding with fabric sprays. All with good intentions. But sometimes, good intentions aren't enough. The air your loved one breathes at night should be clean, clear, and gentle. Not perfumed. Not heavy. Not filled with chemicals. Because they don't need a scented room to feel peace. They need a room that supports their body, especially when it's resting. So what can you do instead? The best option? Fresh air. Open a window when you can. Let the room breathe naturally. Even just a few minutes a day of ventilation can make a big difference. If scent really matters, try mild essential oils in a diffuser, but only under supervision. Use just a drop or two. Choose gentle, well-tolerated oils, like chamomile or a very light lavender, and always make sure the space is well ventilated. And avoid candles with paraffin wax or artificial fragrances. If a candle is being used, make sure it's made from soy or beeswax, unscented, and never left burning while unattended or during sleep. Because what helps one person relax, could make another person suffer in silence. Our goal isn't to strip the bedroom of comfort, it's to ensure that comfort isn't coming at a hidden cost. Let the peace in the room come from softness, safety, stillness. Not from strong smells that cloud the air and strain the lungs. Now, speaking of things that disturb the air, let's talk about something else we rarely think about, but it plays a huge role in an elderly person's safety and sleep quality. Let's talk about the lighting in the bedroom. Let's pause for a moment, and imagine something simple. It's 2 a.m. You're half asleep. You wake up needing to use the bathroom. The room is dark. Your eyes haven't adjusted. You swing your legs over the bed, stand up, and try to find your way across the room. Now, imagine doing that at 80 years old. Your balance isn't what it used to be. Your joints are stiff. Your depth perception is off. And that darkness? It's not just inconvenient. It's disorienting. It's dangerous. That's exactly what happened to a woman I once met during a safety check. She lived alone. Strong-willed, very sharp. She said she'd never had a fall in her life. But one night, she got up too quickly. The room was pitch black. There was no nightlight, no soft glow to guide her. She bumped her knee on the edge of the bed frame, lost her footing, reached for a dresser that wasn't there, and fell. She landed on her wrist. The bone fractured in 2 places. It was a long recovery, not just physically, but emotionally. Because after that fall, her confidence was shaken. She didn't trust her own bedroom anymore. All because of poor lighting. Now, let's be honest, lighting is one of those things we all take for granted. We flick on the switch. We think, that's enough. We assume overhead lights are doing their job. We figure a hallway light will spill into the bedroom. But for older adults, especially those with vision changes, cataracts, or mobility issues, that's not enough. The moment between lying in bed and standing up to walk is one of the most vulnerable moments of the night. And in that moment, lighting can be the difference between safety and a fall. The problem with overhead lights is that they're either too bright or too far away. They can cause glare, throw harsh shadows, or be too jarring when turned on suddenly. Many older adults avoid using them at night because they don't want to wake themselves up too much. So instead, they walk in the dark. And that's the real danger. So what's the better way? Start by softening the light. Place a bedside lamp within easy reach, something with a warm, diffused glow that doesn't strain the eyes. Use bulbs labeled soft white or warm light. Avoid cold or blue-toned lights, especially in the evening hours. But the real game changer? Motion sensor night lights. These little devices are inexpensive, easy to install, and can make a massive difference. Place one near the bed. One along the path to the bathroom. One inside the bathroom itself. That way, as soon as your loved one moves, the path lights up automatically, no buttons, no fumbling, no guesswork. It's not about flooding the room with brightness. It's about guiding them gently, safely, step by step. And here's the thing, lighting doesn't just protect the body. It also soothes the mind. A softly lit room feels safer, calmer, less confusing. And that matters, especially for older adults who may experience nighttime anxiety, mild cognitive decline, or even early dementia. So take a walk through their room at night. Stand where they sleep. Look around with their eyes. Ask yourself, can I see clearly without hurting my eyes? Can I move safely without fear? If the answer is no, change the light. Because no one should feel lost in their own bedroom. Especially not in the middle of the night. And while we're talking about vision, let's address something most people never think twice about. But it quietly creates confusion, stress, and even danger in the most unexpected way. Let's talk about what's on the bedside table. Now let's turn our attention to one of the smallest spots in the bedroom. But one that holds more than you might expect. Number 7. Overcrowded bedside tables. There's a woman I met once, a retired teacher. Sharp mind, organized to the core, always had her routines. But even in her carefully arranged world, her bedside table had become something else entirely. She had her reading glasses. A stack of books. A clock radio. A box of tissues. 3 bottles of lotion. A lamp. And her daily medications, lined up in a neat but very crowded row. One night, she reached for her water, accidentally bumped a bottle of pills, and in the dark, took the wrong one. It wasn't a high dose, thank goodness. But it could have been. And that moment shook her. Because in that little 18-inch space, so many important things were competing for space. We don't often think about it, but a cluttered bedside table is more than just messy, it's dangerous. It increases confusion. It raises stress. And it makes accidents much more likely. Especially at night. When lights are dim. When vision is limited. When our loved ones are tired and just trying to reach for one familiar item. The truth is, when everything is within reach. It also means everything can fall, spill, or get mixed up. And that's especially risky when medications are involved. One wrong pill. One extra dose. One missed tablet. It doesn't take much for something small to turn serious. But even beyond the meds, a cluttered table adds unnecessary noise to a space that's supposed to feel calm. It overwhelms the eyes. The mind. And for older adults who may already struggle with memory, vision, or motor skills, that clutter becomes a barrier to peace, and to safety. Here's the common trap, we think that more access is better. Keep the remote right there. Add an extra lamp, just in case. She might need lotion, or tissues, or that crossword puzzle she likes. But too much access can be just as harmful as not enough. Because when everything is close by, nothing feels truly organized. So here's a simple, caring solution. Keep only the essentials on the bedside table. A small lamp. A single pair of glasses. A water bottle that won't spill. And if medications need to be nearby, store them in a clearly labeled organizer, with compartments by day or time. Preferably with a lid to avoid spills. If your loved one reads or writes at night, one book and one notepad is enough. Rotate them weekly. Keep things fresh, but minimal. Use small trays or baskets to group similar items together. That way, if something does get bumped, it doesn't all go flying. And take a look from their perspective, literally. Sit in the bed. Look at the table from their angle. Can they find what they need without guessing? Can they reach safely without knocking something over? If not, it's time to simplify. Because a bedside table should offer support, not stress. It should be a space of calm, not chaos. It's not about taking things away. It's about creating room for the things that matter most to be seen, reached, and used safely. And finally, we've arrived at the last item on our list. It's something that's in almost every bedroom. So familiar, we rarely even think about it. But it might be doing more harm than good, especially for someone who's aging. Let's talk about the bed itself. And now, let's talk about the heart of the bedroom. The one place that's supposed to offer comfort, relief, and rest. But for many elderly people, can quietly become a daily struggle. Number 8. Beds that are too high or too low. There was this gentleman I knew, Mr. Alphonse. Charming man. Former carpenter. His pride and joy was this handcrafted, antique bed. Beautiful thing, solid wood, carved headboard, high off the ground. He used to joke that he needed a running start just to get into it. But as the years went by, that bed became more of a challenge than a treasure. He had to slide off the edge every morning, legs dangling, slowly lowering himself down like a child jumping off a chair. One day, he didn't land right. His knee buckled. He stumbled forward. Fell hard. It wasn't just the pain, it was the loss of confidence. After that, getting in and out of bed became something he feared. And fear, in an elderly person's daily routine, can become a quiet burden. One that chips away at their independence. We often forget how height plays such a crucial role in safety. When a bed is too high, it forces the body into awkward positions just to get in or out. Legs dangle. Hips twist. And if balance isn't perfect, or if the floor is slippery, or the person's tired, it doesn't take much for that moment to turn into a fall. On the flip side, when a bed is too low, it creates strain. The knees don't bend the way they used to. Muscles need to work harder just to push up and stand. And over time, that constant effort can lead to pulled muscles, joint pain, or dangerous slips. But here's the thing. Most people choose a bed based on how it looks. Not how it functions. We fall in love with the aesthetic, antique frames, elegant headboards, high mattresses with plush toppers. Or sometimes it's the opposite, low minimalist frames that feel modern and stylish. But in an elderly person's bedroom, aesthetics should never come before safety. So what's the ideal setup? The best bed height allows your loved one to sit on the edge with their feet flat on the floor, knees bent at a comfortable 90-degree angle. They should be able to stand up or sit down without needing to hop, twist, or strain. If the bed is too high, consider removing the box spring, switching to a lower profile mattress, or installing a sturdy step stool with a non-slip surface. If it's too low, bed risers can help, just make sure they're secure, stable, and evenly placed on all four legs. Another solution, especially if mobility is already a concern, is adding supportive bed rails. Not the cold, hospital-style ones, but padded, ergonomic rails that blend in with the room and help with balance and stability when moving in and out of bed. The goal isn't to make the bed feel clinical. It's to make it feel safe, confident, empowering. Because how your loved one gets in and out of bed sets the tone for their entire day. And no one should wake up feeling afraid to move. No one should lie down at night wondering if they'll slip, stumble, or fall. The bed should be a place of rest, not risk. So if you're not sure whether the bed in your parents' or grandparents' room is the right height, test it out yourself. Sit on the edge. Stand up. See how it feels. And remember, sometimes the smallest adjustment can make the biggest difference. So now that you know what to remove, let's take a moment to ask something deeper. How does all of this affect the heart and mind? Let's talk about that next. Let's take a breath. Because I know this isn't easy. We've just talked about 8 things, 8 common, everyday items, each of them familiar. Each of them probably part of your loved one's life for years. And now here we are, suggesting they be removed. It's hard, isn't it? Because these aren't just things. They're memories. They're routines. They're comfort. That little rug beside the bed? It might have been there since the grandkids were toddlers. That framed photo above the headboard? It might be the only picture of a lost loved one still on display. The candle that flickers in the corner? It might remind them of holidays long past. The antique bed they've slept in for 40 years? It might have been built by their spouse's hands. So yes, it's hard, removing the things that once brought comfort, or joy, or beauty. But here's what I want you to remember. Each item we remove is a step toward safety. Each change we make is an act of protection. Each adjustment is a quiet, loving way of saying, I see you. I care for you. I want you to stay safe. Because at the end of the day, it's not about stripping away what matters. It's about preserving what matters most. Health, dignity, independence, peace of mind. This isn't about fear. This isn't about wrapping our loved ones in bubble wrap or turning their room into a sterile box. It's about being one step ahead. It's about choosing wisdom over worry. Preparedness over panic. Because we've all heard the stories. We've all seen what one fall can do. How one wrong pill can send someone to the hospital. How one frayed cord or poorly lit room can lead to something that changes everything. But now, you know better. Now, you see the risks. Now, you're equipped to make the space safer, softer, smarter. So tonight, before you turn out the lights, before the world quiets down and your home settles into its rhythm, go take a walk. Step into your parents' bedroom. Peek into your grandmother's room. Stand beside your own bed, if you're planning for your future. And just look. With fresh eyes. With loving eyes. What's there that could be a danger in disguise? What's out of place? What's no longer serving safety, but simply sitting there out of habit? You don't have to change everything tonight. You don't even have to change it all this week. Start small. Start with one thing. Because one small change can make a world of difference. And remember, you're not alone. There are millions of people, just like you, walking this road. Caring. Worrying. Trying to do right by those who once did everything for them. Here on this channel, Elder Mature Moments, we're walking it with you. Every step. Every story. Every quiet victory. Because building a safer bedroom isn't just about avoiding tragedy. It's about creating a space where your loved one can rest, without fear. Where they can move freely, without hesitation. Where they can wake up, and feel safe in their own skin, in their own home, in their own bed. And that kind of safety? That's one of the most powerful forms of love there is. Let's bring it all together. To recap what we've covered today, the 8 dangerous things you should remove from an elderly person's bedroom are: 1. Throw rugs and loose carpets, because one trip can change everything. 2. Heavy wall decor or overhead shelves, because even a picture frame can become a hazard when it falls. 3. Frayed electric blankets, they may feel comforting, but they can silently pose fire and burn risks. 4. Tangled cords and overloaded power strips, they clutter the floor and endanger the night. 5. Strong air fresheners or scented candles, sweet smells aren't always sweet for aging lungs. 6. Poor or harsh lighting, because safe movement starts with clear, gentle light. 7. Overcrowded bedside tables, where clutter can confuse and accidents happen fast. And 8. Beds that are too high or too low, because getting in and out of bed shouldn't feel like a balancing act. Each one of these may seem small on its own, but together, they shape the way our loved ones live. They affect how they sleep, how they move, how safe they feel in their own room. And that matters more than we often realize. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which one of these surprised you the most? Was there something you hadn't thought of before? Have you seen one of these risks in your own home, or your parents'? Share your story in the comments below. I read them. I learned from them. We all do. And if you found this video helpful, if it opened your eyes, or your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments. This channel is here to support you, whether you're caring for an aging loved one, planning for your own future, or simply trying to make a difference, one room, one moment at a time. We talk about safety. We talk about dignity. We talk about love. Because aging doesn't have to be scary. It can be beautiful, when we do it with intention, with wisdom, with heart. So thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for caring enough to learn, to act, to change what needs to be changed. Stay strong. Stay informed. And as always, keep creating safe, loving spaces for the ones who raised us. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.